Brendan Capstick from Nedbank Private Wealth joins us now to discuss that market picture in more detail. Brendan, thank you so much for your time today. Let's start with general markets action. As mentioned there, the JSE quite mixed, right? What do you make of activity playing out here at home? We did see PGM prices trending higher, and that, of course, boosting our miners. Some of the SA Inc. stocks taking a knock. But then you look at the JSE All Share, which has hit a high today.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Yeah, as you mentioned, resources having another strong day on our markets, driven higher by that platinum complex and the platinum price. Surprisingly strong today. At one stage, the platinum price was up nearly 8% and retraced to around 6% up for the day. So that's led into a strong metals and mining sector, driving our markets higher, as you mentioned. Also on the back of that very strong update from Volterra, rippling through that sector. I think, as you mentioned, on the budget, there's been a consumer and a small business positive sentiment on some of those things. That was also late afternoon, probably hasn't filtered through into our retail sector or banking sector as yet. But I think on the bond side, bonds being quite green on the screen and the currency also firmer. So all in all, I think really a positive day on our front thus far.
All right, you mentioned Volterra there. Let's get into those earnings. Shareholders smiling all the way to the bank. The group also sitting pretty with a healthy balance sheet, boosted, of course, by those higher PGM prices. Just your analysis on those numbers, and maybe let's look at the operational performance. How did the group do on that front?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it's easy to look at the spot price and, translate that back into these earnings. So let's just look at the Volterra. Very busy on that front. This first half of that production was quite low and it was weaker due to inclement weather and flooding. Second half of the year was quite good on the production side of things, so that picked up on that front. Just to cast our minds back, Volterra was demerged from Anglo last year, so very busy on that front, restructuring, and also Anglo selling their remaining stake in September. So very clean on the Volterra front now. As you mentioned, production improving, synergies improving inside the group, and at this point, the all-inclusive cost of production you're really at $1,050 per fine ounce, and as I mentioned, platinum now trading around $2,300 per fine ounce. So nice margin of safety and very strong set of results from Volterra.
Listen, those precious metal miners really sitting pretty. It's been earnings doublings, earnings tripling over the past few weeks. Let's take a look at what's playing out over in another sector, right? Looking at Bidcorp, which has managed to weather tough economic trading conditions, growing earnings by 8.5%, and it's also managed to lift its dividend. But markets really punishing that group. Why the disconnect?
Yeah, as alluded to, I think they just didn't meet the market expectation on that front, signaling that the weaker consumer in the Australian and European sectors. That food sector also, I think, struggling with food inflation, from a pricing perspective, passing that on. But I think, as I mentioned, really market expecting more from this set of results. And the share was down around 6 or 7% over the last year.
Yeah, it seems like markets also expected more out from Motus. While yes, it was late to the party when it comes to adopting to those affordability trends, when it comes to having more of the Asian brands in its dealerships, it still delivered growth in earnings, benefiting from the overall sentiment around new vehicle purchases. Your take on those numbers?
Yeah, so African business did really well. That was up nearly 15%, and we've seen retail car sales and car sales Africa being quite good, despite the infiltration or the Chinese competitiveness that we've seen in the motor market locally. I think motors have been in the headlines for the wrong reasons. I think recently, but I think, but from earnings and the EPS and the EPS point of view, it's coming in at quite attractive numbers. Surprising to see the share down around 4.5% for the day. But I mean, if I just look at that, just the write-downs on the Australian business and the UK business, probably dragging on the broader group at this front. But if you look at the SA market, looking quite strong still.
As I mentioned there, it's a busy day. We also had numbers out from AECI. Let's touch on that group before we get into your stock pick. Getting a boost from its mining division. also managing to really reduce its debt on the back of that disposal program it did, with those contributions being put through to its net debt.
Yeah, it's another restructuring story. I mean, again, in all these results, similar to Blue Label and Volterra, another restructuring story. We had the HEPS up nearly 53%. Also, dividend coming through on that front. But it's on the back of the stronger mining sector. And that's been open for all these chemicals and mining ancillary businesses. So I think on that front, they've benefited. Also, not really up today strongly on that result. I think it would look quite good. But again, they're benefiting from the broader mining sector.
So those secondary industries also coming to the party as we enjoy that commodity boom. All right, let's get into your stock pick. Where do you see value at the moment?
Yeah, we're picking Bidvest, local listed industrial, really on the back of all the sentiments we've raised. I mean, we saw the budget, market friendly on that front, credit movements, possible interest rate cuts down the line, GDP figures improving. So I think on that front, it's really not trading on a demanding multiple, nearly around 12 times forward, 3.5% dividend yield, capturing a broader B2B business, well diversified in South African assets, so which will benefit from some South African tailwinds. So we like Bidvest at these levels.
All right, let's leave it there. Brendan, thank you so much for your time and taking us through trade this evening. And that was Brendan Capstick from Nedbank Private Wealth.